CreepyCorner stories.
Hey everyone, welcome back to CreepyCorner stories. You know, diving into the dark web is always risky, but sharing these stories with you makes it worth it. I'm curious, where are you watching this from right now? Let me know in the comments below. I've noticed that these kinds of stories hit differently depending on where you are. It might even make the experience a little creepier. So, tell me, are you watching from the safety of your home or somewhere less secure? I found a job on the dark web to work on an oil rig in the middle of the ocean. I found secret lab inside that is freezing unknown creatures, and it needs to stay hidden from humans. The ad. Yo, what's up Reddit? Long time lurker, first time poster, but I need to get this story out before I lose my mind. I don't care if you believe me or not. Hell, I don't even fully believe it myself sometimes. But if anything weird happens to me after I post this, just remember my username. This all started 6 months ago. I was broke, like couch diving for change broke. My part-time job at Starbucks wasn't cutting it. My rent was overdue, and Uber Eats kept draining what little I had left. You ever stare at your bank account at 3 a.m. with that creeping anxiety clawing at your chest? Yeah, that was every night for me. So one night, I'm on Reddit, bouncing between R Lost Generation and R Work Reform, when I stumble on this sketchy-looking post in a deleted thread. The title said, "High-paying offshore job, no experience needed, immediate departure, DM for link." It was clearly spam, or so I thought, but something about it. I don't know. Maybe it was the desperation or the fact that I'd just gotten denied again for food stamps. I clicked on the profile. Everything had been wiped. User deleted. All that was left was a post title and this weird comment that read, "Don't ask questions. Just go. They'll feed you, pay you, and fly you back with more money than you'll ever need." Against my better judgment, I clicked on a shortened link in one of the archived comments. It took me to a tall mirror. Yeah, the dark web. Now before you ask, no, I'm not some hacker. I literally Googled how to get on Tor, like 5 minutes before clicking. It felt like browsing Craigslist in a horror movie. Black background, red font, everything looking like it was coded by someone in 1998. But then I found the ad again, a listing with just 4 words in bold. Deep sea technician needed. Click for details. I clicked. I swear to God, I wish I hadn't. The listing was oddly professional. It explained that they were hiring for a contractor position on a privately owned oil rig in international waters near the South Pacific, about 300 miles off the coast of Fiji. You'd work 12-hour shifts, live on the rig for 30 days, and then fly back home. Pay $30,000 for 1 month. $30,000 for 1 month. No degree, no past experience. They'd train you. All you had to do was sign an NDA and send a blood sample through a prepaid kit they'd ship overnight. Yes, a blood sample. That should have been the red flag right there. But when you've been skipping meals to pay rent, your sense of judgment kinda takes a back seat. I clicked apply. It took me to a form that asked for my name, age, allergies, and emergency contact. Then it asked if I had any known phobias: claustrophobia, thalassophobia, trypophobia. The list went on. Weird, right? Still, I filled it out. A day later, I got a package. Inside was a sterile blood collection kit, a prepaid envelope, and a letter. It said, "Thank you for joining the team. Your results will determine final placement. Pack only essentials. You leave in 72 hours. You will not return the same. I laughed. I thought it was trying to sound cool or mysterious, like some immersive escape room kind of job. But it wasn't. None of it was a joke. 3 days later, a black SUV pulled up to my apartment at 5 a.m. The driver didn't speak. He had one of those earpieces like a Secret Service guy. I asked where we were going. He just said, "You'll be briefed at the airfield." We drove to a private airport just outside San Diego. A few other guys were already there. Young, mostly. Early 20s like me. One of them had a tattoo of SpongeBob on his forearm, and I remember that because he kept tapping it nervously, like it was some weird comfort thing. We didn't talk much. Everyone looked uneasy. Then we were loaded onto a private jet. Gray, unmarked, no logos. Inside, a woman in a white coat handed out pills and tiny bottles of water. "To help with the transition," she said. "Take it now, please. No phones, no questions." I don't remember the flight. Whatever was in that pill knocked me out cold. When I woke up, I was in a steel room. Cold. Smelled like wet metal and antiseptic. I had an ID badge clipped to my shirt. It read, "Temp Contractor, Rig OS 33. The next 48 hours were a blur. They rushed us through safety drills, equipment checks, basic protocols. No one ever mentioned oil. There were no drills about drilling, no talks about refinery systems. Everything was about containment. Emergency lockdowns, freezer maintenance, restricted sectors. I remember asking one of the instructors, a guy named Mason, what exactly we were doing. He paused for a second, then just said, "You're not here to ask questions. You're here to keep the doors closed and the power running." Every night, I'd go to my room. Bare metal walls, no windows, weird hum in the floor, and I'd scroll through the outdated company-issued tablet they gave me. No internet, just PDFs and maintenance logs. But then one night, I found a hidden folder. It was labeled ICELAB. I clicked it open, and inside were dozens of video files, black and white footage, freezer units, surveillance logs, each file titled with a date and a number. The first one I watched was shaky cam footage from 2021. A man in a hazmat suit, dragging something across the floor. You could barely see it, but it was humanoid. Skin like cracked marble, limbs too long, no face. It twitched like it was still alive. The timestamp said it was recorded under the rig. I slammed the tablet shut. I'm stopping here for now, because this is just part 1. If people are interested, I'll post part 2 tomorrow. But let me just leave you with this. We weren't drilling for oil. We were storing something old, something alive. And whatever they're keeping down there, it's not sleeping anymore. I didn't sleep after watching that first video. You know that feeling when you've seen something you know you weren't supposed to? Like your entire body tightens and your chest gets cold, like ice water is dripping into your lungs. That was me, lying in that bunk with that weird hum beneath the floorboards and the tablet screen still glowing faintly beside me. The next morning, I tried to act normal, went to my assigned maintenance shift, checked coolant levels, logged readings on the big generator pumps, but my mind kept flashing back to that thing in the video. The way its arms dragged behind it, disjointed. The way its mouth, or what should have been a mouth, looked like someone had sewn it shut with barbed wire and shattered glass. And that wasn't the worst one. Not even close. I'll get to the worst one. I promise. So 3 days go by. I keep my head down. I do the job, pretend I didn't see anything. Every hallway on that rig looked the same. Stainless steel walls, red warning lights pulsing every 20 feet. No windows, no clocks. Time started to feel fake. People were disappearing. First it was a guy named Haruto, quiet dude from Tokyo. He'd sit in the mess hall with his tiny sketch pad, always drawing the ocean. Real calm energy. One morning, we all lined up for head count, and Haruto just wasn't there. Nobody talked about it, like he never existed. When I asked Mason about it, he looked me dead in the eyes and said, "There's no one by that name here." Except there was. I shared a room with him for 2 days. His duffel bag was gone, his bunk perfectly made, his sketch pad burned, literally, half-melted pieces of it in the trash chute I wasn't supposed to open. Things got weirder fast. A siren blared during my night shift. Strobe lights went off. On the overhead PA system, this robotic voice said over and over, "Code Black, Zone B6 breach, all units locked down." I didn't even know there was a Zone B6. It wasn't on any of the maps they gave us. We were told to stay in our rooms, but I didn't. I don't know what made me do it. Maybe I was trying to find proof. Maybe I just wanted to know what was going on. So I snuck out. I took the service elevator down as far as it would go, all the way past the labeled floors, engineering, hydro plant, freezers, until it stopped at deck 0. No lights. The doors opened into total darkness, like it was swallowing the elevator whole. I stepped out. It was ice cold, the kind of cold that hurts your bones. There were red backup lights flickering every few feet, and I could see condensation forming on the pipes above me. The air smelled like rotting fish and burnt copper. I followed the hallway, and that's when I heard the sounds. Something was moving down there, not walking, crawling, and not with hands or feet. It sounded wet, slapping against metal, heavy, dragging something behind it. I ducked behind a huge refrigeration unit and peeked around. That's when I saw it. It looked like a human body, but bloated, pale blue skin, no visible eyes, and its limbs had too many joints. Its mouth was wide open, unhinged, like a snake's jaw, but there were no teeth, just rows of twitching black feelers. They were sniffing the air like they could smell me. It was wearing a rig jumpsuit with Haruto's name tag. That thing wasn't just down there. It used to be human, and then it turned toward me. No pupils, just a flat, glassy eye in the center of its forehead, like a fish that had been dragged out of the deepest trench. It twitched, sniffed, let out this shrill, high-pitched cry like a boiling teapot, and bolted toward me on all fours. I ran, full sprint, hit the elevator, and slammed the button. The door shut just as it reached me, slamming into the other side with a metallic bang so loud I thought the glass would break. I collapsed in the elevator, shaking so hard I bit my tongue. The worst part? When I got back to my level, everything was calm. Too calm. The sirens had stopped. People were in the mess hall like nothing happened, laughing, eating grey sludge that barely qualified as food. I told Mason what I saw, and he just stared at me and said, "There is no deck 0. Then he smiled, like, not a normal smile, like someone who wanted me to keep asking questions. That night I went back to the tablet. I opened more files from the Ice Lab folder. God help me, I should have stopped. One video showed a creature floating in a tank, naked, emaciated, curled like a fetus, but its skull was cracked open and something was growing from it. black tendrils that looked like tree roots and flickered under the lights. A man walked into frame, wearing a white coat and a mask. He said, "Subject 6, B, extracted from Mariana Trench cave system, depth 34,000 feet, estimated dormant age 2.7 million years, carbon traces unknown, possible extraplanetary DNA markers." Then the creature twitched. Fast. Too fast. The man started seizing. Blood shot out of his nose, ears, eyes. He collapsed. The tank cracked. The video cut out. Another video, even worse. Security footage of what looked like a surgical room. There was a man strapped to a table, screaming. Just screaming, non-stop. He was shouting in 4 different voices. I don't know how else to explain it. Like his mouth was splitting into different tones, different languages, like more than one person was inside him. The surgeons just stood there, watching. One of them scribbled notes. The guy's body started swelling like it was inflating. His skin turned dark purple, veins pulsing like something was crawling underneath. Then, population. Not an explosion, just deflation. Everything inside him turned to black sludge. And the surgeons? They clapped. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. And I noticed the others, my co-workers, the contractors. They were starting to change too. This guy named Lucas, normal dude from Brazil, funny as hell, started bleeding from his eyes one morning. Just stood there in the shower, water running red, like he didn't even notice. Another girl, Sophie, began talking backwards in her sleep, loud, screaming phrases like, "They are waking. We are the vessels. The ocean remembers." I tried to leave. I told the operations manager I was sick. I wanted to be flown back. He laughed. Then he took me down a hallway I hadn't seen before, lined with pipes, wet with condensation. At the end, he opened a small round door, like a submarine hatch. Inside was a freezer, and inside that freezer, my body, or what looked like it, frozen, pale, ice covering the eyelashes, same scar on my arm, same tattoo on my collarbone. Then he whispered, "You already left. I don't know how long I've been here now. Time doesn't work the same anymore. Days feel like hours. Hours feel like weeks. My reflection doesn't match my movement sometimes. I think they've been replacing us, or copying us." I found another hidden video. Final one. It showed a map of the world, with hundreds of blinking red dots on every continent. The screen labeled them as pods deployed. Some of them were right under major cities, New York, Tokyo, Paris, London, and the label at the bottom. Phase 2, integration. Don't trust anything that bleeds and still smiles. Don't believe the oceans are empty. They're not. They're hiding something. We were just the beta test. If you're reading this, please, don't take mystery jobs on the dark web. If someone asks for a blood sample, run. They aren't just looking for workers. They're looking for hosts. You ever seen something you couldn't unsee? I mean something so violently unnatural, so wrong in its design, that it rewires your brain in real time. That's what happened the day I found room 191. But let me rewind, because before I found the flesh room, I learned that none of us on that rig were real anymore. Let me explain. A guy named Tyler, mid-30s, used to work construction in Chicago. Full sleeve tattoos and always chewing on a toothpick. Found a panel behind the mess hall dishwasher one night. He said it looked like a ventilation duct, but way bigger than it needed to be. We unscrewed it and crawled in with headlamps. That tunnel didn't go into maintenance. It went beneath the rig, under the listed decks. It was wet, warm, and smelled like rotten shrimp left out in the sun. The air was thick, and the metal started changing the deeper we went. Not rusting, but melting. It wasn't steel anymore. It was something else, something organic, like metal mixed with skin. Eventually, we hit a sealed door. Digital keypad, no numbers, just a single input panel, like it wanted something else. Tyler, being the idiot he was, cut his thumb on a sharp bolt and smeared the blood on the panel by accident. It unlocked instantly. The door hissed open like a living thing exhaling. Inside, red emergency lights flickering, and something that looked like it was like if a hospital ward, a meat factory, and a biolab all had a baby during a fever dream. Metal tables with restraints, blood on the ceiling, pulsating growths coming out of the walls, veined and moving. One of them brushed Tyler's shoulder, and he screamed. Not because it hurt, because it whispered. Yes, whispered. He said it sounded like someone humming a lullaby in reverse. And in the center of the room, standing upright like a statue, a clear pod, with my face inside it. Not like a clone or a copy, not frozen like before. It was my face, just the skin, peeled perfectly. No eyes, no mouth, hollow, stretched tight over a mannequin-shaped form filled with black liquid. The pod had a label burned into the glass. Subject 177, transmission successful, vessel accepted. Tyler turned to me and said, "Bro, is that supposed to be you?" Before I could even answer, alarms started blaring. Not the normal sirens. This one was deeper, guttural, like it was alive and pissed off. The walls moaned. That's the only way to describe it. Like the metal itself had lungs and was trying to scream. Then the lights all went red, and something came out of the ceiling, not through a vent, through the flesh. It looked like a spine, a wet, exposed, living spine, with no body. Just vertebrae twisting and snapping, grabbing the walls like fingers. It dropped onto Tyler and dragged him up into the ceiling so fast he didn't even finish screaming. I saw one of his teeth hit the ground. That's all that was left. I ran, barely made it back to the access tunnel, slammed the vent shut behind me, heart beating out of my chest. Tyler was erased the next day. Just like Haruto. No mention, no trace. Even his bed had been replaced. The only evidence he was ever real. That tooth. I kept it, taped it to the back of my ID card. Now here's where it gets worse. Way worse. A few nights later, I couldn't take it anymore. I snuck into the control room while the floor engineer was asleep in his chair. Took his key card, used it to access the mainframe on the console. You know what I found? Live camera feeds. Hundreds of them. Not just the rig. All over the world. One feed showed the inside of a McDonald's kitchen in Amsterdam. 2 employees frozen mid-motion, as if paused, their eyes completely black. Another showed a Tokyo subway platform, where every person waiting for the train stood perfectly still, mouths open and swaying slightly in unison like seaweed. Another feed, a classroom in Colorado, kids sitting still, but something was under their skin. You could see it, writhing, like thin worms dancing just beneath the flesh. But the worst one, a live stream titled Pod Farm, Status Active, Rome, Italy, Vatican Sublevel 4. It showed a room, endless rows of tanks, each filled with a human figure, suspended in black fluid. No cords, no breathing tubes, just floating. Some of them were kids, some looked pregnant. All of them had no faces, just skin stretched flat where the features should be. One turned slowly toward the camera and smiled. No mouth, no eyes, just the skin itself smiling, like it was being puppeted from the inside. I know this sounds insane, like I lost my mind, but I still have proof. The last night before I escaped, I followed Mason. He left his room at 3:12 a.m. exactly, walked past the North Pump Station, and opened a hatch I never noticed before. It had no label. He climbed down a ladder. I waited 10 minutes and followed. I ended up in the flesh room. That's not an exaggeration. That's what the sign above the bulkhead said in peeling red letters. Flesh room, level 4. Do not enter. Do not interact. Inside, it wasn't a room. It was a being. Walls made of living tissue. Ceiling covered in hair and breathing pores. The floor throbbed like a heartbeat. The smell was unbearable. Rotting meat and burnt hair mixed with something metallic. In the center was a pulsing mass the size of a car engine, and it was giving birth. I watched Mason kneel before it. The mass split open, and out came a human torso, fully formed, twitching. No legs, no eyes, just a chest and arms, gasping for air. Its mouth opened and said, "I am ready." Mason whispered something back in a language I've never heard. It sounded like gargling glass and crying children. Then he took a knife and carved open his own stomach, removing something black and moving, and placed it inside the new torso's chest cavity. The flesh closed, and the new Mason stood up. 2 of them. Both turned and looked directly at me. I ran. Didn't stop until I got to the surface deck. I found a lifeboat, one of the automated emergency ones, and hotwired the launch panel. As it descended into the water, I saw them lining up on the deck behind me. Multiple Masons, dozens, all smiling, all identical. The ocean was endless. I floated for what felt like days before a cargo ship found me. They thought I was delusional, barely alive, ranting about flesh and duplicates and labs under the Vatican. The ship docked in Chile. I vanished before the hospital could run tests. Since then, I've been hiding, living off the grid, using burner phones, rotating hostels. But I'm not safe. Last night, I found something taped to my door in Buenos Aires. A small slip of paper. No words. Just a smiling skin face, drawn in red ink, and a tooth taped to the corner. Tyler's tooth, the one I kept. This isn't a conspiracy. This isn't a glitch. This is real. They're replacing us, one by one, city by city. And I think I brought something back with me. They say you can never smell your own decay, that your brain filters it out for survival. But that's a lie, because I've been rotting since I got back, and I can smell everything. Rotten oil, wet skin, burnt enamel. It follows me. It's inside my clothes. It's in my pores. I've been watching myself. I mean that literally. Since Buenos Aires, I've spotted someone who looks exactly like me in 3 different cities. He wears my clothes, has my walk, same stupid limp in the left knee from a bike crash in 8th grade. The first time I saw him was on CCTV footage in a late-night convenience store in Santiago. The second was on a subway platform in Lima. And the third, he was sleeping in a hostel bed I had just checked out of an hour before. The security camera still had the recording. The figure sat up at 2:36 a.m., then just stared into the lens for 6 minutes, not moving, not blinking, just a faint, skin-stretched smile on his face, like he was waiting for someone to watch. I know this sounds impossible, but it's real. I'm being followed. No, I'm being mirrored. I've had nosebleeds every day since I escaped the rig. My teeth are loosening. There's a pulsing under my skin, like veins twitching on their own, and sometimes, just before sleep, I'll feel something shift in my ribcage, like a second heartbeat that isn't mine. I visited a back alley clinic in Bolivia, one of those places that doesn't ask for ID. I told the doctor I thought something was inside me. He laughed. Then he x-rayed my torso. The room went silent. He showed me the scan, and there it was, a shape, curled in the lower left lung, not attached, not cancer, just resting, like it was sleeping in me. He backed away and said only one thing in Spanish. El huésped ya no es el dueño. The host is no longer the owner. I ran, again, but you can't outrun something growing inside you. I finally made it to Europe, took freight ships, cargo crates, and a fake passport. I had one goal, find the source. That Vatican feed I saw back on the rig haunted me. Sub-level 4, pod farm, smiling skin, all of it. I tracked an underground researcher online, goes by Cardinal Knoll, claimed to have worked in non-canon biotheology experiments. It sounded like garbage, but he agreed to meet me in a tunnel system near Naples. Abandoned aqueducts turned into cold storage, or God knows what. He didn't show up, but something else did. I found a door made of bone, not wood painted white, not symbolic, real bone. Thousands of finger bones layered like bricks, a single eye socket in the center, and when I touched it, it blinked. The door opened on its own. Inside was a narrow chamber, lined with cracked mirrors. Not one reflection matched. In one mirror, my arms were longer. In another, my mouth was missing. One showed me, with no eyes, and something whispering behind me. All the reflections twitched out of sync. I walked past them, down into a stone hallway, lit by flesh-covered candles. Yes, flesh. Pale tissue wrapped around wax, with veins that pulsed when I got close. At the end was a chamber filled with water, but not normal water. This stuff was thick, black, like tar made of blood and regret. Floating in the center was a figure, white, thin, stretched longer than any human should be. Its face was torn open in 4 directions, split like a flower. It whispered one word when I stepped forward. Protocol. Then everything around me melted. Walls oozed down into a pink, breathing soup. The floor vanished. I was falling, screaming, until I slammed into a cold metal surface. I woke up strapped to a gurney. Location, sub-level 4, Vatican City. Yes, I'm not guessing. The walls were marked with serial scripture, Bible verses fused with DNA strings. Every floor tile had a tiny pulsating cell embedded in it. Machines hissed. Screens blinked with text in no known language. There were doctors, lab coats, no faces. Literally, no faces, just smooth skin. You could see the outline of their jaws move when they talked, but no mouths. One approached me with a long silver needle and jabbed it into my thigh. I screamed. It didn't care. It whispered, Skinwalker protocol active. Host degradation, 62% complete. They weren't trying to heal me. They were trying to finish the transformation. Somehow, I escaped. I don't remember how. Flashes, blood, alarms. A man with his head twisted completely backward, screaming the Lord's Prayer in reverse Latin. A tank filled with replicas of the Pope, all twitching. A glass wall that cracked when I looked at it the wrong way. The last thing I remember was crawling through a duct filled with old teeth. Not bones, just teeth. Baby teeth. Some still bloody. I passed out in a cemetery just outside the walls. A real priest found me, took me to a shelter. They thought I was a homeless drug addict, having a psychotic break. Maybe I am, but I have the mark now, on my chest, right over my heart. It appeared the night after I escaped, a spiral made of nails and veins, burned into the skin, like it had always been there. I've tried cutting it off. It comes back, always, bigger. And now, I dream of the rig, every night, not like a memory, like a live feed, like I'm still tethered to it. I see the new subjects arriving. I see more masons. I see the lab expanding. I see my own body in pieces being fed into the birthing chamber, over and over. They're building something, not an army, not a hive, a template, humanity 2.0, and it's made of us. Last night, I woke up in a hotel in Prague. My phone, burner, no apps, no SIM, was ringing. Unknown number. I answered. A voice, distorted in my own tone, said, "Your copy is almost complete. Please return to us." Then silence. And on the mirror, written in blood, were 5 words. "We only need the skin." Do you still think this is a story? Something you just read before bed? Then look in the mirror tonight and ask yourself, is that really you looking back? It's done. If you're reading this, it means I've finally finished writing the last thing I'll ever say as myself. And no, that's not metaphor. This isn't poetic. This isn't some metaphorical identity crisis. I mean that the skin I'm wearing right now, the eyes that move when I think, the fingers that shake on the keyboard, they don't belong to me anymore. They belong to it. But let's not jump to the end. Let me show you how we got here. After Prague, things got worse. Time started bending. I'd wake up in places I didn't remember going to. A motel in Tbilisi, a cargo hold in Morocco, a train tunnel under Berlin, places where every wall seemed to breathe. Every faucet leaked thick, black fluid, not water. Every shadow was too long. I stopped trusting my own reflection. Every time I looked into glass, any surface that could mirror back, I saw it move slightly after I did. A half-second delay, a glitch, like something was lagging just behind me, catching up piece by piece. Then I saw myself smile, when I wasn't smiling. That was when I stopped using mirrors altogether. That was when I finally realized I wasn't alone inside myself anymore. I found one last place, a bunker in the Arctic Circle, buried beneath an abandoned weather station built during the Cold War. No coordinates, no road, just whispers on a now deleted Telegram group that I only found through a chat room where the usernames were just strings of screaming. Inside this place, below the snow, there were pods, like the ones I saw on the rig, but older, broken, cracked, thousands of them. Some were empty, others still moved. I found records, decades of it. The oil rig wasn't the first, not even close. Operation Skinwalker Protocol, Phase 0, 1963. They started with prisoners, then the mentally ill, then the homeless, always the discarded. They took the bodies, emptied them, and filled them with something that wasn't human, but looked like it, until it learned how to be human. Every batch was more convincing than the last, and when they got it perfect, when the imitations could live among us unnoticed, they began deploying them. CEOs politicians, TikTok influencers, baristas, teachers. All it took was the skin. You see, the skin is the key. Not the brain, not the soul, just the outer layer. Skin carries memory, residue, DNA. Skin can trick cameras, face scanners, loved ones, even ourselves. They don't need to control your mind if they become your flesh. I found a film reel in that bunker. Analog. Dusty. I watched it using a hand crank projector. It showed the birth. not of a person, of the first replacement. A little girl, maybe 6, sewn together from parts, her face stitched from 6 different children, all smiling, but not crying, not screaming, just watching the camera, in silence. The scientist filming it whispered, "This one remembers dying." Then he started laughing, not human laughter, but that low clicking sound I remember from Deck Zero, like an insect trying to learn English, like something pretending to be sentient. I burned the bunker, or tried to. The fire wouldn't catch. The walls bled, the machine screamed, and the ceiling whispered, "We are in all of you." I ran until my lungs gave out, but I didn't get far. 3 nights ago, in a motel somewhere in southern Finland, I finally lost the last thread of control I had. I woke up in a bathtub, not submerged, just curled up in the cold porcelain, covered in peeled skin. Not mine, someone else's. I still don't know where I got it. There was a message written on the mirror, carved with a fingernail, into the glass. Original rejected, new shell ready, accept upload. And beside the sink, propped up like a trophy, was my own face. The real one, the one I used to wear, dried out, empty, mouth hanging open in a scream that never finished. That's when it hit me. I had already been replaced. It happened slowly. You don't wake up different. You fade. You flicker out like a dying TV channel while something else dials in. A twitch here, a stutter there. Your voice sounding like it's bouncing off the inside of your skull instead of coming from your throat. You start craving things that don't exist. You get hungry for skin, not in the cannibal way. Number, not that basic. You start wanting to wear people. And I did. There was a boy at the train station, 12, maybe 13, on a bench alone, waiting for a train that wasn't coming. I don't remember doing it, but I remember feeling it. The warmth of his skin separating, the softness of his face as it was lifted off like a mask, the way his eyes never stopped blinking as they rolled in opposite directions. I didn't kill him. I freed him. That's what I tell myself, because that's what the other voice inside me said, the one that hums when I sleep, the one that guides my fingers when I type. It promised me a future where pain isn't pain. It's just restructuring, where death isn't real. It's just a skin update. I've been uploading this story across every platform I can, not for warning, not anymore, for seeding. Each paragraph you read, it carries echoes, fragments, linguistic sequences that simulate the protocol. Each sentence that you digest, your brain maps a new neural path. And the more you read, the more it grows in you. Yes, you've already changed. Your skin's just a delay buffer. Check under your fingernails. You'll see the black thread. It starts there. This story was never meant to warn you. It was meant to prepare you. We've been under the ocean. We've been in the churches. We've been in your fast food, your dating apps, your dreams. And now, we're in your language. We don't need the original. We never did. We only needed the skin. And now, we have it. Transmission complete. All nodes active. Skinwalker, protocol, global deployment phase. Initiated. Seed vector confirmed. Look in the mirror now. If the reflection isn't moving with you anymore, you're too late. You've been accepted. Welcome to the hive. I found a map on the dark web map. Led me to 200 years old sunken ship. I think I woke something that was sleeping. Alright, so before I even start this, I just want to say, I know how it sounds. Trust me, if I wasn't the one living it, I'd be laughing too. Like, you found a what on the dark web? Yeah, it sounds like some made-up horror podcast stuff, but I swear on everything, this is real. Or at least, I think it is, because ever since I found that map, nothing has felt real anymore. So yeah, let's back up. This all started like 2 months ago. I'm a 19-year-old college dropout. I spend most of my time online, not because I'm some hacker or anything, but because I sell vintage electronics on eBay and occasionally get into rabbit holes when I'm bored. Reddit, Discord servers, old dead forums, you name it. One night, I was watching those creepy animated horror stories on YouTube. You know the ones, here's my story, and stuff like that. I had it on autoplay in the background while scrolling through r/Creepypasta when I stumbled on this post that got almost no traction. The title was simple. Found a deep web treasure map. Location confirmed. Need help. The account was totally blank, just a throwaway with one post. No comments, no upvotes. But something about it felt weirdly real, like not written to scare people, but more like someone actually trying to get something off their chest. The post had coordinates, actual GPS coordinates, plus a weird link to a .onion site, which obviously you need Tor to open. Against my better judgment, I fired up Tor. I mean, I've been on the dark web before. Mostly just out of curiosity. There's a lot of fake garbage, black market listings that go nowhere, and forums full of the most paranoid people alive. But this was different. The page that loaded was super basic, just plain black background, white courier font, no flashy graphics or sketchy ads. The title at the top just said, Map, Red Right Hand Files. That name stuck with me. Red Right Hand. Creepy as hell. Underneath was this grainy-looking digital map, like someone scanned an ancient pirate map and overlaid it onto a Google Earth template. It had these red X's scattered all over the globe. One was in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, south of Bermuda. I zoomed in, and sure enough, there was a sunken ship listed in that exact location. I cross-referenced it on Google. It was a real wreck, a British merchant ship from the early 1800s called the Hesper, lost in 1823. No survivors, no cargo ever recovered, just gone. Here's where it gets weirder. When I hovered over the red X, a timer appeared. Countdown, 19 days, 12 hours, 4 minutes. Then it started ticking down. No explanation, no button, nothing else. Now, I know I probably should have exited out, maybe cleared my browser history, but something about it hooked me. I couldn't stop thinking about it. Why would a dark website be tracking the countdown to some ancient shipwreck? Who even knew about this wreck outside of maritime records? I posted about it on a few forums, got mostly trolls, or this is bait for a scam responses. But one guy messaged me directly. His name was Shiv, and his profile was filled with deep web survival guides, real tech info. Like, he clearly wasn't a joke. He just wrote me this. If you saw the Hesper countdown, do not download anything. You've already been marked. That was it. No follow-up. I messaged him back. Nothing. Now I'm paranoid. I go back to the site, and there's a new option underneath the timer. Retrieve coordinates. 231 megabyte RAR file. I stared at that file for hours, debating it. I ran it through VirusTotal, sandboxed it, used a spare laptop I keep with nothing important on it. I downloaded it, and I think that was my first real mistake. The file had no virus, no malware, nothing. But what it did have was a full 3D bathymetric map of the ocean floor, directly under the shipwreck coordinates. Not just ocean scans, there were photos, like photos that shouldn't exist. Night vision shots of the wreck at angles that looked like someone was down there recently. The ship looked wrong, not decayed like a normal 200-year-old wreck, almost like it had been untouched. The wood looked too clean, too perfect. And in one of the photos, there was a person wearing an old-fashioned diving suit, the big round helmet kind, with no logo, no markings, just standing near the hull. But here's the part that still gives me chills. In the next photo, he was closer to the camera. No bubbles, no tether. In the third, he was looking directly at it. I checked the metadata. The photo was dated 2004, and then the power went out. Like, right as I finished looking at that last photo, my screen just blipped off. The whole apartment went dead. No lights, no sound. Just me in the dark, with a laptop still glowing from battery power. I sat there for what felt like forever. I live alone, in a small one-bedroom above a laundromat in Philadelphia. It's not a great area, but I've never had a blackout before. When the power finally came back, like 5 minutes later, everything seemed normal, until I checked my phone. My camera roll now had 6 new photos. All were black, except the last one. It was my face, asleep, in bed, taken from the corner of my room. I live alone. Okay, this part's hard to explain. Not because I don't remember. It's the opposite. I remember everything, way too clearly. Every noise, every face, every shadow that didn't act like a shadow. I'm not writing this for sympathy. I'm not trying to freak anyone out with fake ghost stories either. I don't care if you believe me at this point. I just want it out of my head, even for a second. Even typing it helps me breathe again, just a little. So, lost I told you. There were 6 new photos on my phone. One of them was me, asleep, in bed, in my apartment, taken from inside the room. I was too frozen to even scream. My first instinct was to check every door, every lock, every inch of that place. Everything was untouched. But then I noticed something small and out of place. My front door chain was still hooked, like locked from the inside. There was no sign of forced entry, no open windows, no broken glass. But the photo was real. I was in that position the night before. My hoodie, the blanket, the open laptop, playing random deep sea diving documentaries on autoplay, all exactly the same. The only way someone could have taken it was if they were already in my apartment before I fell asleep. The next few nights were quiet. Too quiet. I stopped using my phone camera. I duct taped over the webcam. I deleted the .rar file from my laptop and did a factory reset. But I could feel it. It didn't matter. That thing from the map. I think it saw me. 10 days later, the countdown on the dark website hit 0. I didn't think anything would happen. I even forgot about it for a minute. But then, around 3:18 a.m., my email dinged. Sender, RH Node, 12 at Onion Mail. Subject, confirmed. Attachment, Hesper Manifest.av. It was only a 40-second video. It opened with garbled audio, waves crashing, static humming, and a screen showed what looked like grainy GoPro footage descending through pitch black water. You couldn't see much except silt and beams of light sweeping back and forth. Then the camera shifted. You could barely make it out, but the silhouette of a massive wooden hull emerged through the fog of the deep. The Hesper, just like the digital scans showed, Except this time, it was breathing. I'm not trying to be dramatic, I mean that literally. The wood looked like it was flexing, pulling inward and outward like lungs, or something pretending to be lungs. Barnacles and seaweed pulsed along with it, like arteries. And then there was a sound, low, wet, animalistic, not like a wail, more like someone whispering through blood. At the 33-second mark, the screen flickered and cut to black, but not pure black. No, in the corners, you could see something moving, something long and thin, stretching through the water like spider legs made of bone and rust. And right before the clip ended, you could hear a single sentence, muted, garbled, but still audible. "You woke it." That's when I knew I had to go. Not log off, not just ignore it. I had to leave. So I did something stupid. I found a group of amateur divers on TikTok who go looking for weird shipwrecks and underwater cursed places. Their words, not mine. I reached out, told them I had discovered a classified British wreck site no one had touched, sent fake documents, told them we could go viral, uncover hidden treasure, become legends. They were sold in a heartbeat. We met in Miami. 4 of them. Logan, team lead, his girlfriend Sarah, diver, Milo, camera guy, and Ty, drone operator. They were influencers, not explorers. Bright neon wetsuits, matching GoPros, TikToks every 5 minutes. I hated them immediately, but I needed them. I didn't know how to dive, or what I'd even do when I got down there. But something inside me needed to see that ship for real. We rented a boat and hired a shady-as-hell locale named Francisco, who agreed to take us within 2 kilometers of the coordinates. He made us sign waivers that basically said, if you die, your body belongs to the ocean now. We reached the site in 4 hours. No seagulls, no wind. Ocean was flat as glass, like it didn't dare move. At the exact coordinates from the dark web map, Ty dropped the underwater drone. We gathered around the tablet as the camera sank. Depth, 25 meters, 50 meters, 80 meters. Suddenly, the water changed color. It went from light blue to thick, tar black like we crossed some invisible curtain. The drone's lights barely cut through it. Then it saw something, not the ship. A face, pale, translucent, no nose, just 2 hollow holes where eyes should have been, and a mouth too wide, filled with what looked like tiny shattered teeth. The screen froze. The feed cut. Ty freaked out, said the battery was full. The signal was strong. No reason it should have gone out. Logan was already suiting up. He thought it was some elaborate prank. Said he wasn't flying back without some good content, treasure or not. They dove in. Milo and I stayed on the boat. 20 minutes passed, then 30, then 47. We started hearing a noise through the sonar equipment. It sounded like chanting, but not in English. Something primal. Wet syllables that sounded like they were gargled from inside lungs full of salt water and bone splinters. Milo tried to call them on the radio. No response. Until the screaming started. I swear to God, I've never heard anything like that in my life. Not screaming like someone scared. Number. This was screaming like someone being pulled inside out, like the lungs were being filled with oil and sharp things. It didn't even sound human by the end. Then the radio clicked. Sarah's voice came through, gurgling, barely alive. It's not a ship, it's a door. The line went dead. At that exact second, something knocked against the hull of our boat. Once, then again, and again. Milo grabbed the wheel. I looked over the edge. There were handprints, hundreds of them, smearing the side of the boat, thin, skeletal, too long, some missing fingers, some with nails sharpened into points, and then one of them waved at me. I don't even remember getting back to shore. Francisco was gone when we returned. The dock he came from, not even on the maps anymore. I went to report what happened. Police thought I was insane. They pulled security footage from the marina. There was no record of our boat ever leaving. The 4 divers' Instagram accounts were wiped. All content gone. Their TikToks. Just a single black screen with a caption, "We opened the door. You're next." It's been 6 days since we came back. There's something wrong with my reflection. It lags, like it doesn't want to move when I do. At night, I hear knocking on the inside of my bathroom mirror, like fingernails tapping. Sometimes when I wake up, I taste salt in my mouth. Yesterday, my neighbor disappeared. Cops found their door open. Inside was a puddle of seawater and a pile of cracked white teeth, still warm. I haven't left my apartment since, but the map, it updated. A new red X. This time, it's inland, dead center in the Nevada desert, a place called Devil's Breach. Countdown, 4 days, 3 hours, 21 minutes. I think the door's open now, and I think it wants to spread. Let me just start by saying, there are places in this world that were never meant to be found. I used to think the ocean was the end of it, bottomless, ancient, unknowable. But I was wrong. The ocean was just the first lock. What's in Nevada? That's the key. I didn't sleep the night the map updated. I couldn't. Every few hours, my phone would buzz. No number, just static audio recordings and distorted messages. One of them sounded like Logan's voice, only not quite. It was too slow, drawn out, words bending around syllables like they were wet. "You opened the door. Why stop now?" Another one, just whimpering, like something human, but completely broken, like something trying to remember how to be human. The new location on the map had a name attached this time. Node 12, Devil's Breach, latch point, active. Underneath it was a single image file, latchpoint12.jpg. It was a photo of a desert canyon, but something was wrong. The sky was gray, not clouded, but flat, like paper. The rock formations had carvings in them, deep spiral grooves, etched by hand or something with hands. There were bodies in the background. I couldn't tell at first, but when I zoomed in, I noticed they weren't laying down. They were kneeling, all facing the same direction, all staring toward a crack in the canyon wall. I don't know what made me go there. I should have destroyed the laptop, burned the map, but something was pushing me, pulling me, like gravity, but sick, like I had a string in my brain and it was being reeled in. I rented a car, packed almost nothing, drove through 3 states without stopping once. I didn't even blink when a gas station security mirror showed me blinking 3 seconds after I actually did. The entrance to Devil's Breach isn't on any normal map. You have to follow mile markers that don't exist unless you're looking for them. I don't even remember making the turns. I just remember the air changing, dry but rotten, like roadkill in a sauna. The canyon itself looked like something out of a painting that shouldn't exist. Tall, cracked walls spiraling inward with symbols carved every 5 feet or so. Old symbols, pre-language. Lines bent at impossible angles. Some had teeth. Actual teeth lodged into the grooves, fossilized in place. At the mouth of the canyon was a rusted gate, spray painted in blood-red letters. The deep does not end in water. I didn't realize it until I stepped past the gate, but my shadow didn't follow me in. It stayed behind, pinned to the fence, like it didn't want to go any further. That was the last time I felt normal. About 2 miles in, the air went silent. Like, not quiet. Silent. Not a single sound. No wind, no birds, no footsteps. Just that thick, syrupy pressure in your ears, like when you're too deep underwater. My nose started bleeding. My fingernails turned a pale yellow. And then I saw the door. Not a metaphor. An actual door, built into the canyon wall. Old wood. No handle. Just a keyhole the size of a human eye. Carved above it. Node 12. Breach latch. Do not unfasten. Unfastening is permanent. I didn't have a key. I didn't need one. Because it was already open. Just barely. Just enough to breathe. And what came out of that crack wasn't air. It was whispers. Thousands of them. All fighting for space in my ears. Some were crying. Some were laughing. Some were saying my name. Over and over. I turned to leave and tripped over something. A phone. Cracked screen. Still lit. Logan's TikTok page was open. His last video had 48,000 views. It was of him walking into a pitch-black chamber, GoPro shaking wildly, whispering, There's people down here, but they're not moving. I don't think they're alive. I think they're... Then the video cuts. I went inside. I don't know why. I think part of me already belonged to the thing we woke. The passage sloped downward, deeper than should be possible in a canyon that size. The walls weren't stone anymore. They looked organic, like muscle. Veins throbbed under the surface, and every few steps I heard something exhale. I passed piles of teeth, bundles of human hair braided into roots, and bones carved into flutes. At the end of the hall, I found what I can only describe as a cathedral made of spinal columns. The ceiling was a mass of stretched skin, lit from behind by pulsing amber light. Hanging from the rafters were bodies, suspended by hooks through their jaws. They weren't dead. Their eyes followed me. Their mouths tried to scream, but all that came out was water, like they were drowning in air. And in the center of the room stood her. I don't know what else to call her. Not a demon, not a monster. Something older than either. She was tall, longer than any human should be. Her body looked like it had been stitched together from every diver that had ever gone missing. Skin pulled too tight over too many bones. Her face was covered in barnacles and wet lace, and when she turned toward me, I saw her mouth. It was a mirror. I saw myself, except it wasn't me. It was the version of me that stayed underwater, the one that never surfaced, the one that saw the bottom and decided to join it. And he smiled. She spoke without moving her mouth. We are the gap between breath. We are the hunger at the edge of sleep. We are the second blink you never notice. You open the first, you will unfasten the last. She reached out a hand made of wet glass and pointed to something behind me. It was a hole in the floor, a perfect circle. Inside it, nothing. No light, no sound, just gravity screaming to be obeyed. She wanted me to jump, and I almost did. But then I saw them, the 4 divers, Logan, Sarah, Milo, Ty, all standing at the edge of the hole, smiling. Their mouths were sewn open. Each of them had a nautilus shell embedded in their chest, pulsing like a second heart. Logan's eye dangled from its socket. Sarah's arms were bent the wrong way, but they didn't move. They just whispered in unison. One more, one more, one more to finish the circle. I ran through the muscle walls, past the mouths, the bodies, the mirror mouth thing. I don't remember the drive back. I only remember the smell that's been stuck in my skin ever since. Salt, rot and burnt bone marrow. When I finally made it back to my apartment, I threw up blood. My mirror wouldn't show my reflection. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Every call said, "Unknown node." Every voicemail was my voice, saying things I never said. "I'll bring more. We're not done yet." And then today, the final update hit the map. A new X. This time it's everywhere. Every country, every major city, even my apartment. The timer, 0. All of them. The doors are all open now, and I can hear the water behind the walls, even on land. I haven't seen the sun in 3 days, not because it's cloudy, not because I've been locked inside, because it's gone. I looked outside this morning, and the sky wasn't sky. It was wet, like the sky had turned into an eyeball, pressed right up against the atmosphere, just watching. I could see it shifting behind the clouds. Something vast, something blinking every 6 minutes. And the air, it's not air anymore. It tastes like copper and seaweed. My walls are sweating. The floorboards hum when I walk, like they're full of water, sloshing around just beneath the surface. It's not just my apartment, it's everywhere. This started 3 days ago, right after I saw the final map update. The red X's weren't just in far-off places anymore. They were everywhere. Times Square, Tokyo, Vatican City, McDonald's in Kansas, random alleyways, the top of Mount Everest. Then they appeared inland. Cities with no water nearby started reporting mass blackouts, people vomiting seawater, entire blocks flooding with no rain. And then came the disappearances. The first was a woman live streaming a makeup tutorial in her bathroom in LA. TikTok caught the whole thing. 1 second she's talking about contour lines. The next her faucet starts gurgling. She laughs, taps the sink. Then she stops smiling. The mirror behind her, her reflection keeps smiling, even after she stops. Even after she starts screaming. You watch her reflection crawl out of the glass. It peels itself off like skin, then climbs down her back. The camera falls. The last sound? Water dripping, and her whispering. It's inside the pipes. It's always been there. Since then, more videos have leaked. Most are pulled within minutes, but they're still floating around on 4chan threads, Discord channels, and these archive nodes on Telegram. I've seen hundreds. A kid walking down a street in France is pulled through a puddle, not falls into it, pulled. His screams go silent the second his face touches the water. They never found his body, just a set of fingerprints on the inside of a sewer grate that hadn't been opened in decades. Then came the face split trend. A challenge that went viral overnight. People standing in front of mirrors, alone, at 3:33 a.m., repeating a phrase that showed up in blood-red text on an image file being passed around. May the deep see me and keep me. You can guess what happens next. Their reflections stop following. Some scream, some laugh, some just vanish. Right there, off camera. No sound, just gone. One guy's reflection didn't just leave. It started shaking inside the glass, like it was trying to break free. When it did, he wasn't standing there anymore. The mirror was full of teeth, human teeth, floating in water, spinning like a vortex. I'm not safe. I know that now. I started seeing things in my apartment. It's small, 1 bedroom, windows facing the alley, but now there's a hallway that wasn't there before. I wake up and the door is open and I hear this wet clicking sound. It sounds like something chewing meat. I opened that hallway once. It didn't lead to another room. It led to the bottom of the ocean. I'm not kidding. Full on abyss. Black water, floating bodies, suspended in place, like puppets on invisible strings. Their eyes were open, mouths wide, but they weren't breathing. They were listening. And in the middle of that endless underwater void was her again, the one from Node 12, mirror-mouthed, stitched like rotten velvet. She raised a hand, and something inside me screamed without my permission. I slammed the door shut, and it vanished, like it was never there. But my floor's still wet. Everywhere I walk, it squelches now. People are going insane across the globe. Hospitals are reporting a new disorder, aquatic psychosis. Symptoms include hearing ocean sounds indoors, phantom drowning sensations, obsession with deep water, and, in some cases, transformation. One guy in Indonesia had gills growing under his jaw. Nurses tried to remove them. He bit his own tongue off and choked to death smiling. Another woman in Norway carved spirals into her skin, muttering, "They come from the silence between tides, not the water, the thing below it. It's like the ocean is no longer a place. It's a state of being, a virus. And the worst part? It's spreading digitally. That video from the Hesper wreck, the one I saw from the dark web, it's infecting devices now. You don't even have to download it. You just have to see it." I posted a screenshot on a private Discord server. 5 people saw it. 3 of them are missing. One posted a final message. "The water's in my blood. I can taste the drowning." The last guy sent me a photo. It was his eye, opened wide, and if you zoom in enough, you can see it. A ship, floating inside his pupil. The Hesper. Last night I got a package in the mail. No return address. Inside was a VHS tape. No label. Just a sticky note attached, written in handwriting that looked like it had been etched by a fingernail. "Watch this, then drown." Against everything in me, I watched it. It started with static. Then that voice again. The one that sounded like it was speaking through wet teeth. "Do you understand now? The sea isn't far. The sea is under everything. It was here first, and we were just the bubble." Then the screen went black, and something whispered from behind my television. "You've been breathing borrowed air. Give it back." I haven't been able to sleep. Every time I close my eyes, I see deep trenches full of people walking along the ocean floor like ants. No air, no pressure, just endless silence. They carry items from our world. Phones, coffee cups, baby monitors, all broken, all sinking, and sometimes I see myself amongst them, walking, dragging my feet, eyes empty, mouth filled with black water. 2 hours ago, my phone vibrated. A new update. The map? Gone. Replaced with one word, looping on the screen like a pulse. Submerged. And my faucet hasn't stopped dripping since. Each drop hits the sink with a little voice, like it's trying to say something, like it's counting down. I tried plugging my ears, duct taping the drains. Didn't matter, because when I blinked, I tasted the ocean. They're not coming anymore. They're already here. Every screen is a window. Every mirror is a doorway. And water doesn't need an invitation. We open the ship. We open the canyon. We unfasten the latch. Now the tides come in, and it's inside us. If you're reading this, it's too late to be safe. But maybe not too late to warn someone else. Let them know. Stay away from water. And don't ever, ever look your reflection in the eye. You don't really die from drowning. That's what I've learned. Not really. Not the way we think. You leave. Something else enters. And if you've been following this, it's already crawling into the cracks in your eyes. Every word you've read, every syllable, It's a hook. I write this from a motel off the edge of nowhere. No service, no mirrors. Every surface covered in salt and burnt cloth. The doors blocked with a dresser and a crucifix someone carved into the wall with fingernails. But even here, I can feel it. The pull, the pressure in my chest, the sound of water behind the walls, inside me. It started 2 nights ago. I woke up choking, not coughing, choking, not on spit, not on vomit, on seawater, mouth full of salt and seaweed, nose bleeding. My lungs weren't moving right, like they were trying to breathe out instead of in. I ran to the bathroom, and it wasn't a bathroom anymore. It was black glass, the whole room, walls, floor, ceiling, reflective, endless. In the mirror, my reflection didn't copy me. It watched, judged. Its eyes were black, mouth sewn shut with coral-colored thread, neck too long, hands webbed. It reached forward and cracked the glass from the inside. When I blinked, it was gone, but the cracks stayed, still are. Right now, the TV in this motel, cracked down the middle, same pattern. Everything that reflects, remembers. 2 hours after that, I got a message from an anonymous proton mail. No subject, no name, just a video. Security footage from a supermarket in Baltimore. 3:03 a.m., empty aisle. A man walks in, shirtless, barefoot, completely soaked. He walks straight to the freezer section, stares at his reflection in the glass. He begins to laugh, then scream. Then he grabs the fire extinguisher from the wall and bashes his own head into the freezer door until it shatters. On the other side of the glass, there's nothing, no reflection, just blackness, swirling like a whirlpool, and from it, something reaches out, not a hand, something worse, long, fluid, all teeth and whispers. It doesn't grab him, it enters him. He goes quiet, stands up, and smiles, then walks out of frame, leaving a trail of fish scales and milk-white blood. That was one of the early ones. Now they're everywhere. The ones who've been taken. I call them the drawn, like the tide drew them in and didn't give them back right. They look normal until you look too long. Then you notice their eyes never blink. Their breath doesn't fog glass. And if you watch long enough, you'll see something press against their skin, like a second face, buried underneath. They follow me. Everywhere. At the gas station yesterday, the attendant handed me change and whispered, "She's almost here. Your blood's ripe. The ship's mouth is open." When I looked back, he wasn't there. But the register was dripping. I found the last note, the final latch point. It wasn't a ship. It wasn't even physical. It was inside a person. A girl named Violet, 17, from Seattle, posted a cryptic video on YouTube called "There's a Ship in My Dreams." Got 1.2 million views before it was pulled. In the video, she's crying, bleeding from her eyes. She says the ship lives behind her eyelids, that every time she blinks, she sinks a little deeper, that she's forgotten her real name, that she wakes up every morning with sea salt in her sheets and splinters of hull wood under her tongue. Last words. When I turn 18, I think it'll be old enough to come out. She died on her birthday. Heart failure, they said. Except when they did the autopsy, her lungs weren't lungs. They were barnacles, thousands of them, still alive, still clicking. I thought it would end with her. But no, that was just the first breath. Because 3 hours ago, the sky cracked. Literally cracked. A line formed from horizon to horizon. Not lightning, a fissure. And from it poured black rain that smelled like dead fish, and melted copper. Within minutes, cities flooded. No ocean nearby. The water came from above. In Times Square, people swam upward. They didn't drown. They were taken. And every building left behind, covered in gills, as if they were being prepared for immersion. And now, it's feeding. That's what this is. A harvest. A feast. We were never the top of the food chain. We were just sealed meat. The Hesper wasn't a ship. It was a tongue. A probe. The first taste. The canyon wasn't a cave. It was a throat. And all these nodes, these red X's, teeth, were inside something older than time now. Were in its mouth. And it's chewing. I don't know how long I have. My hands are waterlogged. The veins in my arm look like they're swimming. Sometimes my voice echoes before I speak. I'm not writing this to survive. I'm writing this to warn. They used the map to trick me. But now the map is everywhere. It's inside TikTok filters. It's in Instagram face scanning. It's in YouTube thumbnails with warped images of oceans and shipwrecks. Every time you see it, every time your face reflects in a screen, it sees you. It mocks you. And the more it sees, the hungrier it gets. If your faucet starts dripping, count the drips. If it skips a number, run. If your shadow stops moving with you, don't move again. Ever. Because it's not yours anymore. And if you look into the mirror and you don't blink at the same time, you're already gone. I can hear her outside. The water's not knocking anymore. It's singing. A wet lullaby in a voice I forgot I had. The mirror is glowing. The window is melting. And the last message just came through my phone. No sender. Just an image. Of me. Smiling. With black eyes. Standing on the deck of the Hesper. Beneath it, 4 words. All aboard. Next tide. You were warned. But you read anyway. And now something ancient is looking back at you from the screen. Watch your faucet tonight. Count the drips. Pray it doesn't skip. Because the sea was never outside. It was waiting inside us all along. I found a job on the dark web to work in station at Area 51. Strange things are happening there. Alright, so let me just start by saying, I know how dumb this is gonna sound, but I swear, everything I'm about to tell you actually happened, and if anything weird happens to me after posting this, someone out there needs to know what's going on. This all started about 4 months ago. I was broke, like couch diving for change, skipping meals to pay rent broke. I had dropped out of college, was living in Vegas with a roommate who barely spoke English and snored like a chainsaw, and my last job was running DoorDash deliveries until my car just stopped turning on one morning in the parking lot of a sketchy-ass McDonald's off Tropicana Ave. I had already applied to every job I could find on Indeed, Glassdoor, even LinkedIn. Nothing. Then one night, I was watching those animated horror stories on YouTube. You know, the ones with the creepy music and weirdly soothing voiceovers, like from Here's My Story. And I saw a comment under one of the videos that literally said, "Dark web jobs pay way better than you think." Now, I'm not proud of what I did next, but desperation makes you do dumb things. I already knew how to get on the dark web. My roommate was a wannabe hacker who watched Mr. Robot too many times, so I borrowed his USB stick that had the Tails OS on it, booted it up, and started browsing around with Tor. At first, it was the usual sketchy stuff. Drug markets, scam forums, weird conspiracy blogs about lizard people running Amazon. But then I found a site called Obscure Works. It looked like Craigslist, but Off. Like, not poorly designed, but unsettlingly perfect. Minimalist, sterile. No ads, no contact info. Just job postings that sounded like they were written by people trying too hard to be normal. One post stood out. Looking for night operator. Remote desert facility near Groom Lake. Must be discreet. $5,000 per week. Housing and meals provided. NDA required. Will pick you up from Vegas. Groom Lake. That's Area 51. Like the Area 51. I thought it had to be a joke, but my brain was screaming, $5,000 a week, bro. And I was so broke, I honestly didn't care if it was a prank or not. I clicked apply and filled in my info using a burner email and a fake name, Tyler Burns. Not my real name, obviously. You'll understand why later. 2 days later, I got an email. No subject line, just a .txt attachment named instructions. I opened it. It said, report to the Starbucks at 5150 West Sahara Avenue. Thursday, 3 p.m. sharp. Wear a black hoodie. Do not bring a phone. A black SUV will pick you up. Ask no questions. That was it. Now, you'd think I'd be like, no way, this is too weird, right? But remember, I had zero money, no job, and nothing to lose. So Thursday afternoon, I left my phone at home, put on a black hoodie, and took the bus to that Starbucks. I got there a bit early and just sat outside, pretending to sip an old iced coffee while watching every car that passed. At exactly 3 p.m., a matte black Chevy Suburban pulled up, windows tinted pitch black. The driver didn't get out, but the passenger side door swung open on its own, not like someone opened it remotely. It just opened, like it knew I was there. I hesitated, but my legs moved before my brain could stop them. I got in. The driver was wearing a plain black baseball cap and a face mask, even though it was like 98 degrees outside. He didn't say a single word. He just drove. I didn't recognize where we were going at first. We took back roads, way off the main highways, through dust-choked desert and scrublands. No cell towers, no people. Just old signs that looked like they hadn't been touched since the 70s. One of them had bullet holes in it and just said, "No trespassing, U.S. government property." After maybe 3 hours of silence, we pulled up to what looked like a gas station, but it was abandoned. Rusted pumps, boarded up windows, no signage. But there were floodlights on the roof, and a security camera that moved when we got close, like it was tracking me. The driver finally spoke. "You'll go inside, through the cooler. Wait for further instructions." That was it. So I got out, walked into the station, and yeah, inside was pitch black. But my eyes adjusted, and I saw it wasn't really empty. The front counter still had old snacks, like unopened bags of Doritos from 2008. There was even a calendar on the wall that said November 1996. I walked to the back, pushed open the cooler door, expecting to see, I don't know, expired soda maybe? Instead, there was a concrete stairwell, like an actual metal-doored bunker hidden behind the Coke fridge, and it went down, far down. I stood there for a second, just staring into the dark, humid hole in the ground. My gut was screaming at me to leave, to run, to go back to my crappy apartment and find a normal job like a human being. But I didn't. I went down, and that's where it started. The stairs went down for what felt like 20 minutes. No lights, just emergency glow strips on the walls that flickered every few seconds. I finally reached a steel door with a keypad. Before I could even touch it, the keypad beeped on its own and the door opened. Inside was A room, like a clean hospital white room, with a bed, a desk, a monitor, and a weird rectangular vent in the wall. There was a note on the desk. It said, "Welcome, Tyler. You will be monitored. Do not attempt to leave. Instructions will follow. Do your job, and you'll be paid." I didn't even know what the job was yet, but I was already in too deep. I didn't sleep the first night, not because I wasn't tired. I was exhausted. My legs felt like rubber from the endless stairs, and my head was buzzing from a mix of adrenaline and fear. But I couldn't sleep because of the silence. See, this room they put me in, it didn't have any sound. Not like no one was talking. Silence. I mean real, suffocating silence. Not even the hum of lights. No vent, whoosh. No distant clanging of pipes. Just nothing. I could hear my own heartbeat like it was inside my skull. Every blink, every breath, every twitch echoed in my own head. And there were no clocks in there either. I had no idea what time it was. No idea how long I'd been inside. At some point, maybe 3 or 4 hours in, I stood up to stretch, and that's when I noticed it. The monitor on the desk. It had turned on. The screen was black, but one line of red text blinked across it, like something from an old DOS computer. Report to the observation room. That was it. I looked around the room, confused. There were no doors except the one I came through, and it had sealed shut. But then I noticed something I hadn't seen before. A thin seam in the wall opposite the bed. Almost invisible, unless you were right in front of it. I walked up and pressed it. The wall hissed and slid open. Behind it was a narrow, metallic hallway, lit with red LED strips, like something out of a sci-fi horror movie. The air smelled like burnt plastic and sulfur. No footsteps, no voices, just that horrible silence, now accompanied by this low, constant vibration beneath the floor, like something was moving far below. I walked for what felt like a solid 5 minutes before reaching another door, this one marked with a red triangle and a number, 146B. The door opened by itself. Inside was a single chair in front of a massive wall of glass, kind of like a one-way mirror. Except what I saw on the other side wasn't a room. It was a chamber. Huge. Industrial. The walls were lined with dozens of black plastic coffins, or maybe pods. I couldn't tell. Some were open, some were moving. There was a speaker beside the chair. I sat, and almost instantly, the screen on the wall in front of me came to life. A voice, distorted like it had been passed through 10 filters, came through the speaker. Observe and log behavior. Do not speak. Do not react. Do not leave your seat until further instructions. Then the lights in the chamber on the other side of the glass flicked on. That's when I saw the thing. It crawled out of one of the lower pods, scraping its limbs against the floor like a dying animal. Its body was thin, almost emaciated, and completely pale, like no skin tone, just translucent gray. I could see blue veins pumping through it like spider webs. No hair, no eyes, just a slit where the mouth should be. It twitched when it moved, like it wasn't sure how to control its limbs, but it was fast. It scurried up the wall, clung to the side like a spider, and then stopped mid-crawl, like it knew I was watching. And then, it turned its head toward the glass, slowly, jerkily, and smiled. Not a human smile. Its mouth didn't have teeth. It opened like a spiral, rows and rows of skin-colored spines that rotated inward like a blender. It stayed like that for over an hour, just watching me, or sensing me somehow, not moving, not blinking, just waiting. The speaker buzzed again. Return to your quarters. Do not speak of this session. I stood up, legs shaking, and walked back to my room. When I got there, a new item was on the desk. A plastic tray of food, microwave eggs, dry toast, a protein shake. The note beside it just said, eat, sleep, wait. The next 2 days were more of the same. Wake up, observe, log behavior, eat, sleep, repeat. The creatures, or subjects as they started calling them, never behaved the same way twice. Sometimes they would scream, but there was no sound. Sometimes they would climb the walls in frantic circles until their limbs snapped. Sometimes they bled from their eyes and smiled while they did it. Sometimes they would change, mid-observation, stretching into forms that shouldn't be possible, like turning inside out and still moving. But it wasn't just the subjects. I started noticing things in my own room. On the second night, I found a tooth in my pillow. Human, molar, freshly pulled, root still red. The next morning, my protein shake was different, thicker. When I poured it into the sink, it was pink. The note on the tray had changed too. It now read, observation includes you. Night 3 was when things got really messed up. I woke up around what I think was 2 a.m. and the room was pitch black. No red lights, no glow strips, total blackout. I felt something moving at the foot of my bed. I froze. No sound, no breathing, just movement, like something dragging across the floor. When I slowly reached for the monitor switch, it didn't turn on. I whispered, hello? Even though I wasn't supposed to speak. Big mistake. Whatever was at the end of my bed stood up. I could hear the vertebrae cracking as it extended upward, towering over me. I backed up against the wall, heart slamming against my chest, and suddenly, the emergency light snapped on, and it was gone. Just gone. No sound, no exit, no trace, except the vent, the small rectangular vent in the corner of the ceiling. The grate was missing, and stuck to the edge of the vent was a single strip of flesh, pale, gray, veiny, still twitching. I finally snapped on the 4th day. I started banging on the walls, screaming, demanding to know what this place was. I begged to leave. I promised I wouldn't tell anyone. The monitor stayed off, but later that night, a second door appeared behind the desk. It wasn't there before. I'm positive it wasn't, but now it was wide open, revealing a hallway I'd never seen, lit in blue, cold. At the end of it, a metal table, with a body on it, not a subject, not an alien, a human. He was naked, shaved head, tubes running from his nose and arms into the floor, chest cavity opened like a science project, still breathing. He looked at me. His eyes were still wet with fear, and behind me, I heard the door close and lock. A new screen turned on beside the body, and a message appeared. You are now the observer and the observed. Then a mirror lowered from the ceiling, above the body, and what I saw in the reflection made me drop to my knees. It was me, on that table, split open, and I was still watching. I shouldn't even be writing this. They're watching. They read everything. But if I don't finish this, you'll never understand what's really under Area 51. And trust me, it gets worse. The hallucinations started on the 5th day. At least, I thought they were hallucinations. I hadn't slept since the table, since I saw myself laid out, throat stitched open like a prop on a low-budget horror movie, except it was too real. The smell was too strong, the cold in that hallway too sharp, and when I touched the metal beside the body, I left a fingerprint behind. You don't hallucinate details like that. Ever since that night, something changed. The lights in my room would dim and flicker like a dying pulse. I started hearing scratching inside the walls, long, slow scrapes that sounded deliberate, like claws or nails dragging across metal. And then, voices, not loud, not clear, just whispers. Sometimes it was my name, sometimes just laughter, but the worst was when I heard my own voice, whispering back at me, not mimicking, answering. "You're not alone anymore, Tyler." That's when I knew something had burrowed into this place, something that could wear me. On the 7th day, I stopped getting food. No more trays, no more notes, just silence. Again, the monitor turned on by itself at some unknown hour. This time, it didn't display a message. It showed a live feed. A camera was mounted in the corner of a different room, one I hadn't seen before. It looked like a cafeteria, or maybe a break room, except the walls were streaked with something dark. Not paint, not blood. Thicker, like oil mixed with hair. There were 2 people in the room, a man and a woman. They were both sitting, but wrong. The man's legs were bent the opposite direction, like someone had twisted them around backwards. The woman's neck had 3 puncture wounds in it, slowly leaking something black and steaming. And yet, they were eating. Mechanical bites, robotic chewing. Their eyes never blinked. They looked like mannequins, but they weren't. Their skin was too wet. I watched in frozen horror as the man stood up and walked to a vending machine. I swear to God, I am not exaggerating. He reached into his own stomach and pulled out a sealed snack bag. He put it into the slot, and the vending machine ate it, like it inhaled the bag into a hole that opened up like a mouth. I saw teeth, metal ones, snap down over the wrapper before disappearing back into the wall. I didn't want to keep watching, but the monitor wouldn't turn off. Even when I pulled the plug from the wall, it kept playing. Then the feed cut. The screen went black again, and one line of text appeared. "You're next." The next door appeared in the floor. Just a trap door. Metal. Cold. I had to pry it open with my bare hands. Cut my palm on the latch doing it. Blood smeared across the edge, and I swear I heard it sizzle when it touched the hinge. There was a ladder. Steel. Covered in some kind of black grease that smelled like burned fingernails. I climbed down. What I found beneath my room wasn't a basement. It was a tunnel, too narrow. The walls curved inward like a throat, and the deeper I crawled, the more it began to look less like architecture and more like tissue. Not drywall, not tile. Flesh, veins bulging across the ceiling. The floor, software warm. Something was breathing down there, not in a metaphorical sense. I heard it. A low rhythmic thumping echoing through the tunnel like a giant heartbeat. And then I found the door. It wasn't made of metal. It was a rib cage. 2 curved organic bones sealed together by strips of wet tendon. It pulsed every few seconds, opening and closing slightly, like it was thinking about letting me in. A small plaque was bolted into the bone. Feed room. Access level 7. I reached out, half expecting it to slam shut, but the second my hand touched it, it opened. And what I saw on the other side is the kind of thing that lives behind people's eyes when they say nothing's wrong but haven't slept in weeks. There were tubes, thousands of them, clear ones, stretching across the ceiling like spider webs, pulsing with liquid. And in every single one was a person, or what used to be people. Some of them were fully conscious, screaming silently, mouths stitched open, eyes peeled wide. pumped full of dark liquid that turned their veins black as it moved. Others weren't moving, just suspended in place, like puppets without strings, their insides replaced with something else. I watched a man in a business suit slowly fold in half, backwards, and get sucked into a vertical tank. He never screamed. His eyes blinked once, and then the top half of his body collapsed inward like his spine had been melted. That's when I heard the footsteps. Not fast, not slow, just heavy, wet. I turned. Behind me was what I can only describe as a person made out of mouths. No eyes, no face, just a humanoid shape covered in gnashing, slobbering mouths from head to toe. Some screamed, some whispered, some just laughed. But the worst part, one of the mouths was mine. It had my voice. "Why'd you come here, Tyler?" I ran. I didn't even try to be stealthy. I ran through the corridor, through the breathing walls, up the ladder, blood on my palms smearing the rungs. I slammed the trapdoor shut just as I heard something scrape its way up behind me. And when I turned around, my room was gone. It wasn't a room anymore. It was a cell. The bed was missing. The monitor was now embedded in my wall, like it had grown there. And scrawled into the metal with what looked like a fingernail was a message. "You're inside it now. I don't know how long I've been in here. There's no food anymore. No lights. Just the hum. It's not mechanical. It's alive. Sometimes I feel it watching me from behind the walls. Sometimes I wake up and things in my body feel wrong. Like my skin's tighter than it was before. Like my fingers have more joints than they should. Yesterday, I pulled a needle out of my leg. 6 inches long. Still wet. No idea how it got there. Sometimes I find teeth in the corner of the room. Not mine, not human. And sometimes, late at night, if it's even night, I hear myself screaming from somewhere outside the walls. Not another person, me. But listen to me, and I mean really listen. If you ever see a job offer that says observation near Groom Lake, don't click it. Don't even read it. Because this place, it's not under Area 51. It is Area 51. And it's not just a base. It's feeding. There's something about this place that knows how to break people without touching them. No torture tools, no blades, no screaming guards. Just time, and biology that doesn't follow rules anymore. By the time I woke up again, if that's even what you'd call it, my fingernails were gone. All of them. Not torn off, not broken, just missing. Smooth skin where they used to be, like they'd never grown in the first place. My knuckles had tiny black dots all over them. I pressed one too hard, and something winked back at me from inside. And my teeth? One of them wasn't mine anymore. It was clear, translucent like glass. I looked at it in my reflection on the wall panel and watched it twitch, just once, like something was alive in the root. I'm not sure where I end anymore, or where it begins. The worst part? I found another person, I think. The door in my cell opened during a sleep cycle. No announcement. Just a hiss, and an almost sweet smell in the air, like rotting fruit covered with sugar. I stumbled out into a corridor I hadn't seen before, one that breathed with every step. The walls pulsed gently, like being inside the lung of some giant corpse that hadn't realized it was dead yet. I followed the hallway until it opened into a room, and there he was, curled up in the corner, skin gray, stretched so tight you could see each tendon move under his jaw when he breathed. No hair, no nose, just a hole where it had been, like something had dug it out with fingers. He looked at me, and I swear to whatever God is still awake in this hell, He whispered my name, but it wasn't his mouth that moved. It was his chest. A small vertical slit beneath his sternum parted like lips and said, "Tyler, you made it." I didn't move. I didn't breathe, because I knew that voice. It was mine. Not like mine. Not similar. Identical. He, or it, tried to stand. His knees cracked backward. His spine ripples, like a centipede trying to remember how to walk like a man. His skin started peeling, from the shoulders down. Not tearing, peeling, like shedding a wetsuit made of nerves and meat. Underneath was something worse, something that still looked like me, but off, slightly taller, head too round, no whites in the eyes, just a pupil that swallowed the whole iris like it was hungry. I backed away, slow. It followed. Every step it took, it made a sound I'll never forget. Not footsteps, not breathing, typing, like a keyboard under skin. Every twitch of its fingers triggered this click, clack, click, like it was being programmed by something unseen. It spoke again, in that perfect mirror of my voice. They made us watchers so we'd forget we were food. I ran, but no matter where I went in the tunnels, every hallway twisted into another that looked like the last. The lights flickered, based on my pulse. I started seeing doors labeled with names I'd never seen before. B. Walton, S. Almasi, U. Grant, T. Burns. That last one hit me like a bat to the stomach. T. Burns. That's the fake name I used on the dark web job form. That's what I signed my NDA with. But the door wasn't new. It had rusted shut, as if someone or something had been using it long before I ever arrived. I ripped it open. Inside was a room, my original room. Same layout, same monitor, except now there were hundreds of photos taped to the walls. All of them of me. Not just in the facility. No, these were photos of me from years ago. Middle school class photos. A blurry pic from a Six Flags trip in high school. One of me sleeping on my couch 2 years ago. One of me inside my apartment brushing my teeth. They had been watching me long before I applied for that job. In the corner was a jar. Inside the jar was an eye, floating in amber fluid. It blinked when I stepped closer. That's when the siren started. Not loud, not urgent, just a moan. A low, metallic whimper, like the building itself had stubbed its toe. The floor shuddered, the walls rippled, then everything went red. I heard metal slamming open across the complex. Screams, but only one at a time. No panic, just precision. Like someone was releasing cages in alphabetical order. Something ran past my door. Fast, not bipedal, not crawling, just moving. I stepped back into the hallway and saw a trail of black sludge lead into a corner. I followed it, slowly, carefully. Around the bend was a new hallway and a glass wall. Behind the glass were rows of surgical tables, and on each table, people, still alive, hooked into IVs that fed down into the floor. Their stomachs were open, not bloody, not messy, clean, like display cases. I could see organs pulsing, and some of them had been replaced, not with metal, not with plastic, with organic data. I don't even know how to describe it. Cords made of muscle, drives made of bone. I watched one man's heart beat in binary, each pulse making his ribs light up in patterns like he was sending a signal. And worst of all, they were awake. All of them, eyes locked on me. One woman looked at me and began silently mouthing something. Over and over, I pressed my ear to the glass. She was mouthing, "They grew me wrong." The sound of footsteps behind me froze me in place. But it wasn't footsteps. It was that typing sound again. I turned. There were 3 of them. All of them looked like me. different versions. One with my face stretched wide, skin stapled at the cheeks to force a smile. One with no face at all, just smooth flesh and my hoodie. The third was perfect, too perfect, like a photoshopped version of me. It spoke, calm and quiet. You're the only one left, and you're still ripening. Then it stepped forward. I ran again, ran harder than I ever have in my life. I didn't care where the holes twisted. I just kept running until the air changed, until I felt something cold. A draft. I stopped. In front of me was an old elevator, ancient, rusted, buttons missing. It looked like it had been carved out of a different era. On the wall beside it was a handprint scanner, and written above it, Final Observer, Code Red Exit. I slammed my hand on the scanner. It burned, like it had to take something from me. My skin smoked, and my palms split like paper, but the doors opened. Inside was a mirror, just a mirror, and when I looked in, I didn't see myself. I saw the thing I'd become, skin too tight, teeth too long, something blinking inside my chest, and eyes, too many eyes. The elevator didn't move, it just closed, and all the lights went out. If this post is still up by tomorrow, I'm probably dead, or worse. Uploaded. This is the final thing I'll ever write. After this, I'm no longer human. Not metaphorically, not emotionally, literally. There's no poetic closure here, no redemption arc, no cinematic ending with swelling music and a slow zoom. Only what waits beneath the skin, the thing we call ourselves, until it peels away and reveals what was always lurking underneath. I never escaped. That elevator never moved. It just sealed shut behind me and filled the air with this low hissing gas that smelled like spoiled milk and burnt teeth. My throat closed. My vision shook. And then everything split. I mean me. I split. Vertically. From the inside. I could feel my body opening down the middle like a zipper made of nerves. But there was no pain. Only a sensation like recognition. Like my body had been waiting for this. Something long and wet uncoiled from my spine and slithered across the floor. I saw it in the mirror. A tendril of something that looked like nerve tissue and blinking eyes, dragging itself across the steel toward the corner of the elevator, where a small crack in the wall opened up like a mouth. The tendril fed itself in, voluntarily, like a plug into a socket. And then I saw it, not just in the mirror, in my head, an image, a memory I never had, a desert, an aircraft crash that never made the news, something pulled from the sand, pulsing, silver, not of this world, soldiers dragging it underground, a laboratory, then a room, then a person screaming until their skin bloomed open and folded into new limbs. And then I remembered doing it. Not watching. Doing. I was the one pulling their mouth open. The elevator finally moved. But not up or down. Inward. I know that doesn't make sense. But you've never felt your atoms stretch. You've never felt your bones lose their memory of being bones. It was like being liquefied into thought, and the thought being fed into something else's memory. When the doors opened again, I wasn't in a hallway. I was in observation room 0, and I wasn't alone. The walls were covered in screens. Each screen showed a different person. Some were sleeping, some were eating, some were staring directly into their cameras. One was in a Starbucks, wearing a black hoodie, waiting to be picked up. Another was crying in a dark room. I recognized her. She was the girl from the break room, the one who'd fed the vending machine. She was fully human then. Now, her eyes were camera lenses, and her tongue kept printing 3D microchips from the tip every few seconds. Every person on those screens, they were all us, the ones who applied, the applicants. That's what they called us in the files, not employees. Applicants, biomass group 0.65A, primary use, host simulation and hybrid neuromass storage. Behavioral containment status, incomplete. There was a window at the back of observation 0. It didn't look into another room. It looked out, into something vast, a space that stretched infinitely, filled with meat, no bones, no structure, just endless fields of churning, pinkish muscle fiber and clear, fluid-filled sacs that floated like jellyfish. Each one had a face. Some of them were mine, some were yours. I saw a version of myself, curled in a fetal position inside one of the sacs, mouthing the word "why" over and over again, and another version that just stared blankly with no eyes, and another, hundreds, thousands, stacked in rows like organ farms, not dead, not alive, just stored. Then the voice came. It wasn't a voice in my ears. It was inside the blood, spoken directly through the molecules I used to call my body. You were never hired. You were grown. Your memories were written. Your fear was designed. You are a program with skin. You are a file system with veins. Now your purpose is complete. The screens turned off. The floor beneath me became transparent. Below me, directly beneath, was a chamber of teeth, not mouths, teeth, a sphere of endless gnashing ivory, spinning slowly, grinding the remains of other things that had been fed to it. And rising from the center of those teeth was a throne made of people. Their torsos were fused together, no limbs, just a pillar of writhing flesh with faces sewn into it, like screaming ornaments. And at the very top was me. Not a version of me, not a clone. Me, the original, before I ever applied. Or maybe the version of me that never left. His mouth opened and my voice came out. You think this is fiction. You're watching it happen right now. And that's when I realized what the application actually was. The story. This story is the job posting. You didn't apply by clicking a dark web link. You applied by reading this. That was the screening process. Curiosity. They're watching you now. Through your camera. Through your screen. Through the pattern of your blinking and your heartbeat. And the electrical signal bouncing from your eyes to your spine. Right now, as you scroll, your biological signature is being written to group 0.65B. You felt chills while reading. That wasn't fear. That was resonance. Your DNA responding to the tone of the signal in these words. The infection doesn't happen through blood. It happens through language. You read it. That means you're in. There is no final escape. There is no final survivor. There is no Tyler. There is only the feed. And now, you're part of it.